I'm a 21-year-old male, the middle child of 5 siblings, and I always knew my mom treated me very differently from the rest of my siblings. It caused my parents' marriage to end because my dad made it very clear he wouldn't tolerate her being so different with me. This was after he tried to figure out why she was so different with me. A few close family members knew and said it was postpartum depression from when she had me, that apparently only affected her ability to bond with me and not any of my 4 siblings. Just me, the middle kid. I have a sibling 1 year younger than me, and she bonded with her just fine. I was a teenager when I got into a fight with mom one day, and she accused me of always hating her and never wanting her to be happy. I asked what the heck she meant by that, and she told me that I had to come on the one day she had other plans, that it was bad enough I was overdue when I was born, but I prevented her from reading a book that released that day that she'd made plans to read months in advance. She told me I just had to be born that day, so she was too tired to read it on the release day, and she was weeks behind. She said I couldn't even be born normally like my siblings, and I was a C-section baby. She told me it messed up her plans so bad, and I never seemed to care. Then she mentioned how much I cried when she was around and how well I did with Dad. She said I made her seem like such a monster, and none of my siblings were like that. She told me I clearly always wanted to come between her and Dad. She was pretty serious about it too. She said I started screwing her over the day I was born. It really shocked me when she told me all this. At first I didn't want to believe it. Dad and I even did a DNA test around that time because we were like, maybe she's making up a dumb reason so we won't know she cheated. But I'm definitely Dad's kid. DNA confirmed it. My relationship with Mom is as bad as the day I was born apparently, and I get a hard time from some family friends and extended family members who see me not being close with my mom as me being awful to her for no reason. They put the bad relationship on me, and at my grandparents' house on Saturday, I got so tired of the comments and Mom sneering at me the whole time that I exposed what she said to me when I was a teenager and the blame she put on me being born on the wrong day for our bad relationship. Mom half admitted it because she got so angry she verbally lashed out at me. It created a mess, and some family members think I made a big deal out of nothing, but others were disgusted with Mom. I was told I was wrong to expose her like that. Mom told me I had no business doing that. So I ask, am I the jerk? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. Your mom sounds like a difficult person to deal with. It could be postpartum depression, PPD, but it was unrealistic of her to think she would have time to read a book before or after your birth. It seems like she cared more about reading than taking care of her newborn baby. She would have been too tired to read anyway, regardless of when you were born. Also, she said you were late, so how did she expect to read the book if you came on time? She's just a bad parent, and your dad was right to be concerned about how she treated you. Your family doesn't know about everything else that goes on or hear what is said, so their opinions don't matter. Comment 2, not the idiot. I am also the child of a horrible narcissistic mother who didn't want me. They blame us for being mean to them as babies. They blame us for the inconvenience of raising us, and they blame us for why they hate us. There's nothing you can do about it, and I'm sorry, the only thing you could do if you wanted to would be to cut her out of your life. She will never apologize. She will never see you as a person who deserves to be loved. I'm glad you told everyone the truth. Hold on to that truth and get away from that awful woman. Now for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since the last post. After the incident at my grandparents' house, things got even more complicated. The fallout from exposing what my mom said to me when I was a teenager was immediate. Some family members who were disgusted with my mom tried to reach out to me, offering their support. They said they had no idea things were that bad between us and apologized for not understanding sooner. It felt good to have some validation, but it also made me realize how deep the divide in my family had become. The next day, my mom called a family meeting at our house. She wanted to address what happened and try to clear the air. I was hesitant to go, but my dad convinced me it might be a chance to finally get some things out in the open. When we all sat down, my mom started by saying she was sorry for how things had come out, but insisted that I had blown things out of proportion. She said she never meant to hurt me and that her comments were taken out of context. I couldn't believe she was still trying to downplay it. My older brother, who had always been the peacekeeper, tried to mediate. He asked Mom why she felt the need to say those things in the first place. She got defensive and said she was just overwhelmed and that I had always been a difficult child. My younger sister, the one she bonded with just fine, chimed in and said she never understood why Mom treated me differently either. This seemed to catch Mom off guard, and for a moment, I thought we might actually get somewhere. But then my mom broke down and started crying, saying she felt like everyone was ganging up on her. She said she had done her best and that she was tired of being painted as the villain. My dad, who had been mostly silent, finally spoke up. He said that while he understood Mom's feelings, it didn't excuse the way she had treated me. He reminded her that they had divorced because of this very issue and that it was time for her to take responsibility for her actions. The meeting ended without any real resolution. My mom stormed out, and I felt more confused than ever. Over the next couple of days, I noticed a shift in how some family members treated me. Those who had been supportive started to distance themselves, probably because they didn't want to get caught in the middle of the drama. It hurt, but I tried to focus on the people who were still there for me. One of the most surprising consequences came from my dad. He sat me down and told me he had been doing some thinking. He said that while he had always tried to be there for me, he realized he hadn't done enough to protect me from Mom's behavior. He apologized for not stepping in sooner and said he wanted to make it up to me. He suggested we go to family therapy together, just the two of us, to work through some of the issues that had been brought to light. I agreed, hoping it might help us both heal. In therapy, I learned a lot about my dad's perspective. He told me about the early days of his marriage to my mom and how things had started to change after I was born. He admitted he had been in denial for a long time, hoping things would get better on their own. He said he had always felt guilty for not being able to fix things and that he had tried to compensate by being extra supportive of me. It was eye-opening to hear his side of the story, and it made me appreciate him even more. Meanwhile, my mom's behavior became more erratic. She started sending me long, emotional texts, alternating between apologizing and blaming me for the family's problems. It was exhausting, and I didn't know how to respond. My therapist suggested setting boundaries, so I told my mom I needed some space and that I would reach out when I was ready to talk. She didn't take it well, but I knew it was the right thing to do for my own mental health. As I navigated these new dynamics, I also started to reflect on my own actions and feelings. I realized I had been carrying a lot of anger and resentment towards my mom, and it was affecting my other relationships. I decided to reach out to some of the family members who had distanced themselves and try to explain my side of the story. Some were receptive while others remained skeptical, but it felt good to at least try to mend those bridges. One of the most unexpected developments came from my younger sister. She confided in me that she had always felt guilty for having a better relationship with Mom and that she had often felt caught in the middle. She said she wanted to support me but didn't know how. We had a long, heartfelt conversation and it brought us closer together. It was a small silver lining in an otherwise difficult situation. As the days went on, I started to see a glimmer of hope. While my relationship with my mom was still strained, I felt like I was finally starting to understand the root of our issues. I knew it would take time and effort to heal, but I was willing to try. I also realized that I had a lot of support from my dad, my siblings, and even some extended family members. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for revoking my brother's +1? Because he chose his toxic friend over his girlfriend, I kind of know I am the jerk, but I need to know how bad it was. My brother is 29 and has been with Leah for about 2 years. We all like her. She is super nice. I am getting married next April and sent an invite to my brother's apartment. We decided to send invites to households and not for individuals. For example, our aunt received an invite for her family and not for each individual. Last Thursday, we met at my parents' place. It was just the core family because of some tax reasons, LOL. While there, I asked my brother about Leah's dietary restrictions. I know that she is a vegetarian for health reasons and that she cannot have certain raw vegetables. He said that she wasn't going to come and that he was taking his girl best friend, Amanda, instead. Now their relationship is weird AF. Amanda has always been stringing my brother along, in my opinion. He always denies having feelings for her. But let's be real here. Amanda would date other guys, blow off my brother, then when things were on the decline with her partners, she would be attached to him again. Her last boyfriend broke up with her right around the time my brother, his then ex-girlfriend Amanda, and her ex were supposed to travel to Spain. What did my idiot brother do? Go with Amanda alone because Amanda was uncomfortable with his ex-girlfriend. Obviously, he acted blindsided when his girlfriend broke up with him. I didn't even say anything anymore because it's all so weird. So when he said that, I asked if Leah already had other plans. But my brother said that Amanda had asked if she could come because it would be an opportunity to finally see the old gang. We were in the same friend group in high school. I told him that I would have invited Amanda if I wanted her there. Amanda is mean and cold. She always makes disparaging comments about other girls. At every event, around 1 hour in, she will make some sort of scene that either has her running away crying or sitting mad at a table telling everyone to leave her alone and then making a cryptic comment about something hurting her. I told my brother I was revoking his +1 and Amanda was not coming to our wedding. He accused me of being misogynistic and bigoted because I don't understand opposite-sex friendships, which is BS. My husband has a female childhood friend who is his best woman. I love her too, and she has been amazing. And she respects freaking boundaries. She always includes me and made a huge effort when I started dating my fiance to integrate me into the friend group. Anyway, I said my decision was final. He could take it or leave it, but I would be inviting Leah myself because I like her. He screamed at me and told me to keep out of his business. I said to get rid of his weird freaking feelings for Amanda. He is mad at me. My dad said it's none of our deal. My mom is furious with my brother. So am I the idiot? To add to answer some questions. The invite was addressed to the Smiths. Funnily enough, Leah had the same last name as us. Granted, we have one of the most common last names. Yes, they live together. The tax thing is nothing huge. My parents have a small business but are really bad at keeping track of all their receipts. So every month we go and help them. We digitize the receipts and put them in a bookkeeping software for the accountant. Amanda is in the comments. Say hi. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot, primarily because you say you intentionally did not invite Amanda and that you two no longer get along, despite previously sharing a friend group. He doesn't get to bring someone intentionally not invited to your wedding. Unfortunately, you can't control his obsession with Amanda, and he likely has to keep destroying relationships before he finally gets that he is prioritizing her over his relationships. Comment 2. Your brother is a real prick. He's going to be single again very soon unless he learns to consider and appreciate his partners. But I don't see that happening, based on his reaction to Princess Amanda not being invited. But quite apart from that, you have the right to disinvite unpleasant people from your wedding. Brother can pound sand. Not the idiot. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking with me through all this. So after the whole blow up with my brother, things got even more complicated. A few days after our argument, I decided to reach out to Leah directly. I wanted to make sure she knew she was still invited to the wedding and that I genuinely wanted her there. She was really sweet about it and thanked me for the invite, but she seemed a bit off. I didn't push her for details, but I could tell something was bothering her. A week later, I found out from my mom that Leah had moved out of their apartment. Apparently, she and my brother had a huge fight after our family meeting. She confronted him about taking Amanda to the wedding instead of her, and things escalated quickly. My brother, being the stubborn person he is, refused to back down and insisted that Amanda was just a friend. Leah didn't buy it and decided she had enough of his nonsense. She packed her bags and left. This whole situation put me in a really tough spot. On one hand, I felt terrible for Leah and wanted to support her. On the other hand, I was still furious with my brother for his behavior. I tried to talk to him about it, but he just shut me down and told me to mind my own business. It was clear that he was hurting, but he was too proud to admit it. Meanwhile, Amanda started showing up more and more. She was at every family gathering, every event, and even started hanging out with my brother at our parents' house. It was like she was trying to insert herself into our family, and it made everyone uncomfortable. My mom was especially upset and she made it clear that she didn't want Amanda around. But my brother didn't care. He was determined to prove that he could make his own decisions, even if they were terrible ones. Then last weekend, things took a turn for the worse. My fiance and I were hosting a small get-together at our place, and my brother showed up with Amanda in tow. I tried to be civil, but it was hard to hide my frustration. Amanda, being her usual self, made a snide comment about the decorations, which set the tone for the rest of the evening. As the night went on, she started drinking more and more, and it wasn't long before she caused a scene. She got into an argument with one of my friends, accusing her of flirting with my brother. It was completely untrue, but Amanda wouldn't let it go. She ended up storming out of the house, crying and yelling about how no one understood her. My brother, of course, ran after her, leaving the rest of us to deal with the aftermath. It was a mess, and I was beyond fed up. The next day, I decided I had to do something. I couldn't just sit back and watch my brother ruin his life over this toxic relationship. I called him and asked if we could meet up to talk. Surprisingly, he agreed. We met at a coffee shop and I laid it all out for him. I told him how much his actions were hurting everyone around him, including himself. I reminded him of all the times Amanda had used him and how she always seemed to cause drama wherever she went. At first, he was defensive and tried to brush me off, but as I kept talking, I could see the cracks starting to form. He finally admitted that he had feelings for Amanda, but he was too scared to confront them. He was afraid of losing her, even though he knew deep down that their relationship was toxic. It was a heartbreaking moment, and I didn't know what to say to make it better. In the end, I told him that he needed to make a choice. He could either continue down this destructive path with Amanda, or he could take a step back and reevaluate his life. I didn't expect him to make a decision right then and there, but I hoped that our conversation would at least give him something to think about. A few days later, I got a call from my mom. She told me that my brother had decided to move out of their apartment and stay with a friend for a while. He needed some space to figure things out, and he wanted to distance himself from Amanda. It was a small victory, but it felt like a step in the right direction. However, things didn't go as smoothly as I had hoped. Amanda didn't take the news well and started spreading lies about my brother to their mutual friends. She claimed that he had been cheating on her with Leah and that he was a terrible person. It was all nonsense, but it caused a lot of drama and made things even more complicated. My brother was devastated. He felt like he had lost everything: his relationship with Leah, his friendship with Amanda, and now his reputation. He started to withdraw from everyone, including me. It was hard to see him like that, and I didn't know how to help him. As for Leah, she decided to move back to her hometown to be closer to her family. She needed a fresh start, and I couldn't blame her. We kept in touch through text messages, but it wasn't the same. I missed having her around, and I knew my brother did too, even if he wouldn't admit it. Looking back, I can't help but feel guilty for how things turned out. I wanted to protect my brother and make him see the truth, but in the process, I ended up pushing him away. I don't know if he'll ever forgive me, but I hope that one day he'll understand that I was just trying to help. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for telling my mother-in-law she can't hijack our wedding plans? My fiance and I are due to get married in September 2026. From the moment we got engaged, his mother has insisted that she will be having a choreographed dance with him at our wedding. His mom is a self-proclaimed main character and has even joked that she should be allowed to wear white as she is the mother of the groom. His mom is very kind money-wise to her children and has paid large sums for his siblings' weddings and would not make a difference here with ours. However, I don't want this to be an issue where the day is then planned significantly around her ideas of the perfect wedding and not ours, as there have been previous comments about how she doesn't like the color scheme and how she thinks my engagement ring is tacky. I have a 1.5 carat emerald cut Montana sapphire with a diamond paved setting. So I have therefore said thank you for her kindness, but that we will be funding the main chunk of the wedding ourselves as we have saved for it. In relation to the dance, my dad died when I was 5 years old, and my granddad, who raised me, passed away a few years back. My mom and I have discussed a dance for both of us, not him and his mother, and both agreed that it would just seem a bit awkward and we wouldn't really enjoy it, so we were going to skip the father-daughter dance. I have stated my concerns about a mother-son dance, as it would highlight more the fact that there is no traditional father-daughter dance, and that I just don't feel comfortable with it. His mother has blown up, saying I will be ruining the day for the whole family by not allowing it, and has stated that she will be pulling everyone off the dance floor for this dance regardless. I have therefore now told her if that is the case, she will be escorted from the venue before the dance begins. To add, he doesn't want a first dance, never mind a choreographed dance. He laughed the first time it was mentioned about the mother-son dance and said not a chance, but she was insisting on it. He has agreed on a very short 1-minute first dance where the bridal party will join in after a slight sway to our favorite song, as dancing in general makes him uncomfortable. I had always stated before the engagement that I didn't like the dances, and he had stated that he'd only agree to a very short first dance after a number of drinks because he hates them. We've always been on the same page for that. I will also add that my fiancé wanted a destination wedding with a small number of guests, which I was quite happy to do as it would be very personal to us. This was completely taken off the table as his mom had a list of 60 guests of her own that absolutely had to attend as they were extended family. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot, but you two should either elope or go with the destination wedding you want. Changing all your plans because your mother-in-law wants to invite 60 people is foolish in my opinion. Stop letting her steamroll you. Do what you want to do. It's your wedding. Comment 2. Info. How does your fiancé feel about it? We know what you want. We know what your mother wants. We know what his mother wants. Why not tell us what he wants? Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking with me through all this. So things have been pretty intense since I last updated. After the whole dance mess, my fiancé and I decided to take a step back and really think about what we wanted for our wedding. We had a long talk and decided to stick to our guns about funding the wedding ourselves. We figured this would give us more control and hopefully avoid any more drama with his mom. But then something unexpected happened. My fiancé's sister, who had been pretty quiet about the whole situation, reached out to me. She wanted to meet up for coffee and chat. I was a bit hesitant at first, but I agreed. When we met, she told me that she had been through similar issues with their mom during her own wedding planning. She said their mom had insisted on a lot of things that made her day more stressful than it needed to be. Hearing this from someone who had been through it really hit home for me. It made me realize that this wasn't just about the dance or the guest list. It was about setting boundaries and making sure our wedding was truly ours. After that conversation, I felt more determined than ever to stand my ground. I talked to my fiancé about it, and he was fully supportive. We decided to have a sit-down with his mom to lay everything out clearly. We wanted to make sure she understood that while we appreciated her generosity, we needed to make our own decisions about the wedding. The meeting was tense, to say the least. His mom was visibly upset, but we stayed calm and explained our reasons. We told her about our plans for a small, intimate wedding and how important it was for us to keep it that way. She didn't take it well at first and accused us of trying to exclude her. But then my fiancé's sister chimed in and backed us up, sharing her own experiences. That seemed to make a difference. His mom finally agreed to step back, though she was clearly not happy about it. In the days following that meeting, my fiancé and I felt a huge sense of relief. We started making plans for our destination wedding, just like we had always wanted. We chose a beautiful location that was meaningful to us and began working on the guest list. We kept it small, inviting only our closest friends and family. It felt like a weight had been lifted off our shoulders. But then, just when we thought things were settling down, we got some unexpected news. My mom called me one evening, sounding worried. She told me that my uncle, who I was very close to growing up, had been diagnosed with a serious illness. This news hit me hard. My uncle had always been a father figure to me after my granddad passed away. The thought of him not being there for our wedding was devastating. I talked to my fiancé about it, and we decided to visit my uncle. Seeing him in the hospital brought back a lot of memories. He was always the one who encouraged me to follow my heart and be true to myself. Sitting by his bedside, I realized how much I wanted him to be a part of our special day. We talked about it, and he told me that he would do everything he could to be there, but he couldn't make any promises. This situation made me rethink a lot of things. It reminded me of the importance of family and the people who have always been there for me. I decided to include a special tribute to my uncle and my granddad in our wedding ceremony. It felt like the right thing to do, and it gave me a sense of peace. As we continued with our wedding plans, my fiancé and I grew even closer. We learned to communicate better and support each other through the ups and downs. We also started to see his mom in a different light. While she could be overbearing, we realized that her actions came from a place of love and wanting to be involved. We decided to find small ways to include her in the planning process without compromising our vision. One day, while we were working on the guest list, my fiancé suggested something that took me by surprise. He proposed that we have a small private dance with his mom before the ceremony. This way, she could have her moment without it overshadowing the rest of the day. At first, I was hesitant, but then I saw how much it meant to him. He explained that it was a way to honor his mom's wishes while still respecting our own boundaries. I agreed, and we decided to keep it a surprise for her. As the days went by, we made more progress with our plans. We chose our wedding attire, picked out the decorations, and finalized the menu. Everything was coming together beautifully. We also spent more time with our families, making sure they felt included and appreciated. Throughout this process, I learned a lot about myself and my relationship with my fiancé. I realized that setting boundaries didn't mean shutting people out. It meant finding a balance that worked for everyone. I also saw how important it was to communicate openly and honestly with each other and our families. In the end, our wedding plans became a reflection of who we are as a couple. We stayed true to our vision while finding ways to honor our loved ones. It wasn't always easy, but it was worth it. We felt more connected and ready to face whatever challenges came our way. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.